Welcome back to the Restaurant Growth Show. Today we're talking with Sabina Campbell from restaurantsupply.com about using technology to tackle food waste in restaurants. We'll cover how smart fridges and intelligent packaging can save food and money, and how tech can keep food fresh and kitchens running smoothly. Sabina, welcome back to the show. It hasn't been too long since you were here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Fantastic. So as I mentioned,
Awesome.
I mentioned at the top of the show, this episode is about making restaurant operations more efficient and cost effective. Today we're going to talk about IoT technology, or Internet of Things. And this type of solution connects kitchen devices to the internet for smarter operations. It helps in energy management, it helps saving costs, it helps reduce food waste. Sabina, can you tell us a little bit more about this type of technology and how restaurantsupply.com uses these devices?
Well, we do recommend a lot of these devices. They're really very new on the market, and we're at the very beginning of it. I think where it starts and where the technology is expanding really quick right now is, in different types of sensor, and I'll mention some of these kinds of sensors. It's really, really interesting. So you have pH sensors, and you can use these. This goes from the whole supply chain from farm to table. So you now have a transparency and accountability from all the way from the farm all the way to the table. You know what happens with these types of food with all these types of sensors. So you have, ethylene sensors for produce, fruits and vegetables. So you can tell when they ripen or when they're about to go bad. You have temperature sensors, humidity sensors for refrigeration telling you. And also you have sensors that change, or like RDIF, that change colors when they've been exposed to different temperatures they shouldn't have been exposed to. So I think that's where a lot of it starts. And, the technology within that is expanding so quick. And really, I think the main part of, IoT is you have all these sensors now, you have all this new data. So with this new data, you can see, you can track all the way through. And then once it gets to you, refrigeration, cooking, you also have this really neat thing I was reading about, wearable tech.
Yes.
So
Oh,
you have, like, for example, let's say you have staff that doesn't like to wash their hands, right? You'd want to know about it.
Oh, yeah.
I know I'd want to know about it if I was eating there. I tell you that. You have wearable tech that actually tells you and promotes better sanitary conditions and tries to hold them to certain standards, which is great. You have, with all these different sensors, they integrate into different technologies, IoTs, and then you have software solutions with automatic inventory, retracking ordering if you restock manually or automatically. It's really the data. IoT integrates different data for you. Now you just, like, for example, imagine you're sitting at your computer and you have this dashboard, and this dashboard has everything in your whole business. Would you not be able to run your business better? You'd understand it better, and like with big chains, like imagine you have 20 locations. Let's say you're trying to go down, you're trying to reduce energy efficiency by 20%. Let's say if you can see which locations are using more energy and at which part of the process, now you know where to improve it. So
huh.
this technology just gives you an insight to stats and data you didn't have before.
That's super interesting. I want to take a step back. You mentioned the wearable tech and the washing of the hands. Can you elaborate? Can you explain to me how are you wearing that sensor, and like how does it incorporate whether or not someone's washed their hands or not? How does that work?
There are different types that are coming out right now, and like different stations. Like I've read about different stations. Every time somebody passes it, like let's say you have cooking, and then you have like like where the bathrooms are over here, but they walk through this. So every time somebody walks through this, there's a sensor that says, "Did you wash your hands? Please wash your hands when you walk through this area."
Mhm.
There's things like that help as well. So the technology helps promote safety standards in that way as well.
Yeah,
I
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And sorry, Jose, just to cut you off there. I spent a lot of time working in the grocery industry and floor management. So anytime there was debris on the floor, or there was a mess cleaned up or anything like that, or you had to do like a visual check, there were punch codes all throughout the store where we would punch in. We were like, yes, we did a visual. This area of the store was clear. And that kind of reminds me of something like this, like a reminder, a notification notification to say, hey, it's been so long since, you washed your hand, punch that in. It sounds to me like almost a little invasive, right? Like next thing we'll have chips installed into our wrists to let us know that, you have something dirty on your hands. I don't know, but it's really interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Jose.
Yeah, no, I think this is all coming full circle. So please do share, Sabina, if you get more of this, because this week's Jose report, I actually was talking about technology that actually uses, I didn't read it about the sensors, but I read about using AI with all that data to actually prevent hazardous situations. And I was just imagining, because there's still not much information there. I know about couple of companies, but I didn't want to, go into a demo or anything like that. But it's fascinating that we're getting to that. And my thought on your point, that Gord, is that I think what's happening is that, how when you and I as have worked in tech startups, and the bigger the company, the more security it is, but basically they control over your computer. They have access to everything that you do while you're at work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree fully. The larger the organization, the more technology is going to be integrated, and they're going to be able to, monitor certain levers. And this is still new to restaurants, though. So there may be this learning curve. There's going to be this time at which everyone is going to understand how it's going to better their operation. So wow, that's super interesting, but at the same time a little bit scary. The hand washing sensor is a little scary, in my opinion.
Remember, like if you have an iWatch, you know that when you wash your hands, this really annoying thing with bubbles comes up and it says, you didn't wash them enough. And you're like, you just shake your hand around a little bit and you're like, I'm good. That technology's been around for a long time. So imagine what kind of technologies they have on wearable tech now.
Yeah,
Right.
no, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've got my smartwatch here. It's not Apple, but it doesn't notify me when I'm washing my hands still. So, but maybe that's a setting that I'm missing on my. By the way, Jose, I just wanted to say that was that a shameless Jose report plug that you just tried to shove right in there?
Yep. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I was just checking. Everyone go listen to the Jose report. It's Jose's perspective on technology in restaurants. Jose, why don't you take it away here?
Okay, so with all this thing that we're thinking about, like sensors and all this stuff, I mean, there's one thing that has changed since the pandemic, specifically because our restaurants started to use third-party delivery, and to the point that they started to realize, okay, that's a given. We gotta be there. Now let's get packaging sorted out, right? And we've seen a huge amount of improvement. Can intelligent packaging really make food last longer? And how does it work?
Well, intelligent packaging, all these sensors that are added to, packaging that, like I said, the RDIF that changes colors when it's exposed to different temperatures. So what you realize is it really helps, probably distribution companies realize where their weak points are, where they're losing a lot of their produce, or, there's a new type of pH sensor that I was reading about that is a lot smaller and it's able to integrate right into the plastic. So as technology improves, it's going to become smaller, cheaper, and easier to integrate with different plastics. And it's just going to be part of the process. We're going to look back 10 years from now, or 10 years forward, we're going to say, well, wasn't it always like that? It's like when you talk to your kids about, well, there even used to be iPhones. We had a Walkman, and they don't get it. It's crazy how much it changes, through time. And I think it's going to become like that. I think sensors are just going to be everywhere on everything, scarily.
So it looks like it's back of the house first, distribution and all of that makes sense. It's bulk and stuff. And then you're right. I think that eventually it will come from the house. It will be delivered. It will be everywhere. Yeah. So what are some simple ways that restaurants are using tech to keep an eye on food freshness?
Wireless temperature sensors. A lot of restaurants aren't chains. They don't have the money to integrate a whole system, but there are solutions for you. There's temperature sensors under $20. There's a lot of things you can do. You just got to know what you need. And there's so much technology out there. You just have to figure out which one is best for you. You have inventory management software, which is probably a little harder to integrate. It's probably not the first step. You have cloud-based platforms, you have IoT enabled appliances, and that's not very hard to implement as well. You can implement it slowly, one at a time, two at a time. You don't have to do it all at once. And that's the great thing. And then really neat thing I was reading about is there's actually mobile apps for food safety compliance now.
Of course there is.
So, you could, yeah, right. Cheater. No, but it's great because you have like there was one I was reading about. It's called iAuditor, and you can actually go on there, conduct a safety inspection, and directly from your smartphone. It's neat, and then you can actually pull in the IoT device data automatically.
Makes
Fantastic.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sabine.
No, so I was gonna say, so there's a job that's now. We don't need more.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just need regional inspectors to manage the applications, right? And I'm sure there'll be an
Yeah.
app for that eventually. It's really fascinating. We had a guest on, I guess it's been a couple of months now, Savannah Sadell, and this goes back to the food packaging technology, and her company was about sustainable packaging and organic and compostable packaging, which is the direction that restaurants and retailers alike really need to be the direction they need to be moving in. And I'm just making a small prediction here. So third party delivery packaging, so takeout and delivery packaging that has compostable packaging that will break down easily, maybe we could help develop a compostable sensor as well so that we can monitor the food quality as it's gone from the restaurant to the home and measure the actual quality of the food, whether it's deteriorated, how long it's been in the packaging before it got opened up, and then of course it be biodegradable. So I think that's
Yeah,
next level stuff. I don't know if anybody's developing that.
that would be interesting.
I
I
have one
think
for you. It's called
PH.
thermometer. Go ahead, some please.
Yeah, I think pH will probably be the easiest to develop organically. I don't know about the rest of them as much, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. And, the problem with eco-friendly packaging is it's more expensive, even though you want to do it, you may not be able to afford. You're already paying 30% to delivery. What are you going to do? Increase it a little more and decrease your profit margin? That's the hard part.
I know Savannah will have a retort to that, but that's what her and her organization is trying to do is reduce the cost of that type of packaging. And I
Yeah.
think the development of bamboo and the materials actually drive the cost down. So we're getting there. We're getting closer to that. And that just reminds me, we need to have Savannah Sadell back on the show. Savannah, if you're listening, come on back. We want an update. Sabina, how does using smart technology in the kitchen make managing food supplies easier?
Well, it's data. You have devices and apps. They streamline inventory management, automating tracking, monitoring for food supplies. It'll alert staff to restock items, track expiration dates, manage orders efficiency, reduce waste, increase food safety. It offers real-time insights, making operation more efficient, and it helps maintain a high-quality standard in food service.
Is there anything smart technology can't do in the kitchen? I mean, that was you just covered everything.
Yeah, it's a good question. We'll have to wait and see. I think it's going to start providing solutions to things we didn't even realize we had a problem with.
Okay, so here's one. How does all of this save the restaurant money?
Well, with inventory management, you waste food or you don't waste as much food. I mean, that goes back to, staff shortages and everything else. Like if you have data to track all the statistics on how much food you use, when, I mean, that alone will save you a lot of money. You waste less food. There's systems in place that it tells you to, rotate food, and it helps staff tell you when staff needs to do it. That helps lessen spoilage and lessen the, increase the amount of time. It tells you if your refrigerator's too hot. It tells you exactly what temperatures it needs to be in. You have refrigeration units with zones in it where you can adjust different zones to different temperatures, making your food waste, take more time to waste and spoil.
We talked about before we started recording today about control center or command center. So we were talking about all of our home office setups. And all of this just kind of tells me that eventually a lot of these restaurants, whether it's a chain or an independent location, that they're going to need some sort of command center themselves with multiple screens to manage all of these alerts, and then ultimately some kind of aggregation operating system as well. So we're nowhere near, solving all of these things at once, because the more technology you add to your stack, the more challenges you can ultimately see. However, moving closer to food safety and reducing food waste and sanitary conditions, I mean, it's all just wonderful. It's a wonderful direction that that restaurant technology is heading in. And I'm really, really excited about all of these solutions.
Agreed.
All right. Well, that looks like it's all the time we have for this episode today. Sabina, now's your time to plug away. How can merchants connect with you? What's your platform of choice?
Well, we use LinkedIn quite a bit, and it depends on what kind of questions you have. You can always reach me on LinkedIn directly. That's where we usually post a lot of our stories towards food and service experts. We do post a lot on our blog, so you can search our blog for, anything like top, or if you want information on how to clean certain things, we post usually an article a day on average.
That's excellent. And the blog is on restaurantsupply.com/blog. Real simple, real easy. Speaking of plugs, this podcast is sponsored by Dine Pricing, real-time restaurant profitability. Dine Pricing uses artificial intelligence to improve restaurant profitability by dynamically updating menus across digital channels like Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. That is all the time we have for this episode today. Thanks again to Sabina Campbell for joining us and telling us all about the Internet of Things and the direction that food safety and sanitation and operational efficiency is going. We're really excited about that. Can't wait to have Sabina back on the show. That's all the time we have. Until next week, say goodbye, Jose.
Great. Bye, Jose.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabina. It was great having you on once again.